The president had seen divisions explode over his handling of the economy and health reform.
911 Lawrence, recording with the exact location of your emergency.
And that summer, another flashpoint would reemerge: race.
Standing here, and she had noticed two gentlemen trying to get in a house at that number, 17 Ware Street.
White block hair sparing.
It involved a friend of the president's.
Come up with a gentleman says he resides here, uncooperative, but keep a Henry Louis Gates Jr.
Henry Louis Gates, one of the most prominent and esteemed, black academics and researchers in the nation, is returning to his home, gets himself, locked out, him as cab driver, helping him get inside, and a police officer arrives. And they're going back and forth with this question of, should he be there? Is this his house? What's happening? And at one point, he ends up getting detained by this officer.
Gates was arrested for disorderly conduct.
Prominent African-American Harvard scholar Henry Louis Gates Jr.
arrested in his own home.
His arrest is prompting outrage.
In the years since his Reverend Wright speech, Obama had rarely addressed race.
One of the paradoxes of Barack Obama's candidacy was that at the same time that he was on his way to becoming the first black president, he was very uncomfortable talking in overt terms about race. He tended to be elliptical. He tended to try to operate at 30,000 feet.
Good evening. Please be seated.
But now he would not avoid the topic.
Recently, Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. was arrested at his home in Cambridge. What does that incident say to you, and what does it say about race relations in America?
Obama then addresses it at a press conference. I don't think he went out of his way to, but he was asked to. And this was an instance where he, I'm sure in retrospect, felt he went too far because he dared to say that this could have happened to him in Chicago.
I mean, if I was trying to jigger into, well, I guess this is my house now, so it probably wouldn't happen. But let's say my old house in Chicago. Here I'd get shot.
And then he even joked if I had been trying to break into my own house now, meaning the White House, I would have gotten shot. Ha ha ha.
I don't know, not having been there and not seeing all the facts, what role race played in that. But I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry.
What was so striking about the Skip Gates incident was that Obama's very careful articulation on racial issues in general gave way to a sort of normal human reaction, which is, of course they treated the black guy badly.
Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly in arresting somebody when there was already proof that they were in their own home.
Obama's comments ignited a fierce backlash.
Last night, ladies and gentlemen, is that President Obama did, after all, listen to Reverend Wright.
A rookie president unknowingly waded into a media firestorm when he said that the Cambridge Police Department acted, quote, stupidly.
What we got was the reaction of a community organizer.
Obama was surprised by the intensity of the reaction to what seemed pretty obvious, that you would effectively arrest a senior citizen with a cane because you didn't like how he sassed you. Seemed pretty stupid.
What kind of president of the United States immediately jumps on the police?
President says the cops are stupid. President says the cops are racist.
That was something that people were not willing to hear from the first black president. Certainly not willing to hear from the person who they voted for, hoping that they could, be done with race once and for all. And now this person's actually saying, hey, this looks like racism.
That is unbelievable. This president, I think, has exposed himself as a guy over and over and over again who has a deep-seated hatred for white people or the white culture. I don't know what it is.
The uproar that came afterwards really singed, I think. It really did sort of teach him, no, don't get near this stuff unless you really have to, because it's only gonna cause trouble, and it's gonna distract from the things he felt like he had to do.
You can't sit in a pew with Jeremiah Wright for 20 years and not hear some of that stuff and not have it wash over.
It matters that it's a black man. It matters that his name is Barack Hussein Obama. I think for a lot of people that was very threatening. That was not the direction they wanted to see the country go in.
Listen, you can't say he doesn't like white people. David Axelrod's white, Rahm Emanuel's white. I'm not saying that he doesn't like white people. I'm saying he has a problem. This guy is, I believe, a racist.
So Barack Obama, in his own way, ambled into a moment that even I don't think he at the time realized what it would represent, and that was a constellation of indicators to a certain kind of far-right American conservative that the situation was changing and changing very fast, and that white Americans were going to find themselves, as they saw it, disenfranchised and certainly disaffected.
In front of the press, Obama went into full damage control.
These are issues that are still very sensitive here in America. So to the extent that my choice of words didn't illuminate, but rather contributed to more media frenzy, I think that was unfortunate.
He didn't leave it there. He and his staff created a photo op. He called it a teachable moment.
And so Obama did this very awkward thing where he called in Henry Louis Gates and the police officer, and they had this beer summit.
What's the big news of the day? A beer summit outside.
President Obama will have those beers with a policeman and a professor.
He would probably say that that was one of the most ridiculous moments of his presidency.
The drinks are on the House tonight, the White House.
See, not so much that he brought a black Harvard professor and a white Cambridge cop together, but the fact that the media anointed it a beer summit.
Beer Summit, President Obama hopes the cold beer and a conversation will put an end to the controversial arrest.
Time for a little healing over some beers, my friends. He wants you to pay attention because his poll numbers are tanking.
This is it is a lousy, lousy image to present to America.
And it's a great example of how Obama simply believed at that time that if you simply sat down at a table, of course, rational people of goodwill could find a way to join hands and get together.
Hopefully today's happy hour at the White House will finally put this one incident to rest.
After 40 minutes, the event was over. The president said he had learned an important lesson.
Obama said, look, you have to remember that for me to talk about race, and if I set a foot a little bit wrong, I have the capacity with a word to inflame a huge number of people on this side or that.
He certainly told me in the Oval Office that he didn't want to be seen as the black president, which is why he kept telling black people, I am not the president of black America.
What the beer summit in so many ways further exposed and underscored was that the black president was actually one of the least equipped or positioned persons to facilitate this conversation, because his very presence or involvement in one of these issues or one of these flare-ups would only further politicize it.
The beer summit controversy added to the growing anger across America, directed at the president.
President Obama lying to the people, deceiving the people.
A giant step backwards in race relations.
Over race.
It was more Carlton Banks than shook
Over healthcare reform.
Rammed it down America's throats.
Over Wall Street bailouts.
Devastated by losses in mortgage
and Obama himself.
Half the country racist. What's that going to do for your fundraising?